Hey guys, back with Tony from Betting-analyst.com. What we're going to do is we're going to give you Sunday's games. We're going to get straight onto it. We're going to cover 5 matches, and then at the end we're going to give you a couple of bets that we think are going to win at decent prices. So the first game that I want to discuss is Lyon against PSG in the French top league. Well, as you know, obviously these two teams are expected always to be controlling things by the end of the year. Both are in the Champions League. Lyon actually got a win the other night, and they did give themselves a little bit of a chance of qualifying for the next round of the Champions League, or the knockout stages. But they're going to have to beat Seville in the home leg actually to qualify. So that's the situation there. PSG, they've got a 2-2 draw in Arsenal. That means they're top of that group. They're already guaranteed into the next round of that competition. Within the French league, PSG are just third in the league at the moment. But as you know, this team can always sort of turn it on. They've got the players, they've got the money. They're normally a little bit better than everything else in this league, and well, they've been winning it's by 20-30 points every year, so you know they can afford this sort of luxury of taking things easy and then putting on a bit of a run. I'm not too sure if they are the same team as last year or so strong, even though Cavani's playing pretty well. He's scoring goals, and he's got 11 from 11 games, so obviously that's one bright light in the old situation. But again, I'm seeing that Lyon did win this game last year 2-1. They are playing well at the moment. They're going to be really up for this game. You've got Lacazette, you've got Fekir, you've got these really, really sharp players who can score goals, and that's going to sort of give Lyon, in our opinion, a bit of impetus here. So we're going to suggest a bet on Lyon, but with a draw no bet market. Now, normally we'd take this in Asian handicap and we'd probably get an extra quarter goal or an half a goal head start. But in this situation, draw no bet is fine, and you're going to get odds of 2.75 in general. So that's going to give you, a nice return if they do win. The other thing that you can do, if you want to play a bit sort of safer, put them in with a draw, take the double chance. You're still going to get about 1.90, 1.85, 1.90. It's okay to accumulate the bets if you're going to go that way. So over to the Premier League, we're going to have 2 games here, and the first one's going to be Manchester United against West Ham. Now, Jose Mourinho is obviously, I don't know, I mean, you saw he's really sort of lost the plot at Chelsea before he came to Manchester United. Everybody thought he was going to be the saviour here, but it's not really working out that way. If you actually look at the league table, how Man U have been performing, what players they've bought in, all the money that they've spent, the Glazers there, they've invested, but maybe they've invested in the wrong sort of players and, the wrong manager. Time will only tell, but Ouse have won just 2 of the 6 games to date at home. That's pretty disappointing for a big team like Red Devils. They failed to break down Stoke. They could only draw 0-0 with Burnley. Pretty disappointing stuff. And, the Hammers last year, they took 4 points off Man U. Now, the thing is, they drew the game in this stadium and they won the one back in London. Well, obviously, this year's a different year and you'd expect Man U to progress. I mean, if you offered them 4th place in the league right now, I think they'll shake hands and take it. I'm not too sure whether United have got the quality in their squad actually to, be pushing for Champions League for next year. So they did win 4-0 against Feyenoord during the week, but that's a different sort of scenario. What else can you say? West Ham, they have been disappointing. They've only won 1 game away, but how unlucky were they against Spurs in the last round? They led that game up until the 89th minute, and then only a stupid penalty on 92 minutes actually gave Tottenham the win. It was an undeserved win, and it was very hard on West Ham. What we're going to suggest here is that you go with West Ham, but in the Asian handicap. So it's West Ham +1. What that means is, if Manchester United win this game by exactly 1 goal, you're going to get your money back. It's what you call a void bet, a push. Right, so just bear that in mind. Hammers took 4 points off them last year. That's why we're going to stick with West Ham in this one. Then the next game, Southampton against Everton. Now, as you probably know, Ronald Koeman, he was the boss of Southampton last year, so he's returning now as coach of Everton. He obviously went there for the bigger pay package, Dutch guy, likes a bit more money. I suppose everybody does at the end of the day. But neither club can be happy with the season up to date. But let's just say that the Toffees are doing marginally better because they're in 7th place. And they're not too far off of, sort of being in the top 5. They're only a couple of points behind. So there's a long time left in the season. They could push on with that. The Saints are obviously drawing too many games. It's a big problem. Only one team's drawn more in this league, and that's Tottenham. So, again, that's the worry. Not too sure if this squad rotation's really working. The French manager that they brought in seems to be bringing a bit of negativeness. That's the way it's coming across at the moment. Tadic and Fonte also missing. That's obviously going to be difficult players to sort of overcome because Fonte is the captain, Tadic is the playmaker. It's only 2-3-1 at home. And only 5-4 goals what they played in these 6 matches. So, it's been pretty boring stuff. Everton, they got stuffed by Chelsea, didn't they? 5-0. But I guess that was like a one-off. These things happen in football. In the last round, they're disappointed with Swansea, only 0-0. But maybe that team's been a bit sort of underestimated at the moment. Maybe Swansea are about to make a bit of a comeback. They have been disappointing. But what we'd be tempted is we'd like to take Everton with the draw no bet at odds of 2.70 because, again, 2.70 with a push on the draw is quite reasonable. You only need 1 or 2 of these to win and you're making a profit. So we'll move on to Germany, the Bundesliga, and we're going to take Hertha Berlin against Mainz. Now, Hertha Berlin might only be 6th in the league, but they're 5-0 at home. So they've won all their 5 games. The top of the league, if you're just looking at the chart of home matches, and 11-2 goals at the Olympia Stadium. Always get a crowd of like 50,000 plus, sometimes 60,000. It just depends on the weather and the situation. Vade Ibisevic, he might be 32-year-olds, but he's still scoring goals. Yeah, Mainz have had a really busy schedule lately. That's what sort of concerns us about Mainz. It's also a naive team. They it's a young squad. They're not really sort of there for the long term, and so they're doing well. They're progressing. They got a good draw in Saint Etienne the other night, but again, it's a journey they've had to make. They've only had a few days to recover. They've had to come back and get fit again. And Stefan Bell's now out of this because he's suspended. That's centre back, a very important player, protecting the goalkeeper. And the left back, Brosinski, is also out of this game. So why not take to Berlin? We think it's pretty much a safe bet in that one. And then for the last game in this sort of thing, we're going to go with Real Sociedad against Barcelona. Sociedad won the last 4 games, and they're just 4 points behind Barcelona in 5th place. Barcelona 3rd, they had a win against Atletico Madrid in this stadium, 2-0. In San Sebastian, it's not easy to play for opposing teams, and the crowd do get their backs up against these big teams like Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, and that always gives you a little bit of chance as their own team. And like we say, they are improving again now, finding that they can score goals. Sociedad also won this fixture last year 1-0. So again, recent history is also on their side. And we could argue that Barcelona are not quite as good this season. If you think about it, they've already lost to Manchester City, they've lost to Celta Vigo, they've lost to Espanyol, and they've also drew to Malaga in the last round. And remember, they were playing against 9 men at the end, right? So they had 11 against 9, they had home advantage, and it's not as though the Malaga players were sent off right at the end. They were sent off in the 67th minute and the 80th. Malaga still came away with a 0-0 draw. Tuesday night's winning Celtic, that of course that's a much lower grade. No offence to the Scottish team, but they're just not up to this grade. And the thing that also concerns us with Barcelona is Iniesta. He's missing, right? And now they've got Umtiti, Mathieu and Kaptoum also sidelined. Now, the last 3, they're all replaceable, but we're seeing that Iniesta's not very replaceable. What we would suggest here is that you take the host, Real Sociedad, with +1, again in the Asian handicap. But if you want, you could also take a chance that they win the game at big odds of like 7. But if you take a 1, right, and they do lose by 1, you get your money back, and you get odds of 220 if it's a draw or a win for the home side. But again, like I said, I would be tempted to throw in a little bit of money on odds of 7 on a home win. I mean, it's home advantage. They've got recent record against them. They've got a player advantage here in terms of, in the estimates. And yeah, why not as odds of 7? It's also pretty bad weather in Spain at the moment. So we just want to mention, just touch on 2 other games that we're going to give you, what we consider to be nice big odds. And the first one is we want to take Lausanne to beat Young Boys in Switzerland. Now, the thing is, in our opinion, even though they've lost their last 5 games, Lausanne have been a bit unlucky. They've been underestimated here. Odds of 4.60 is very fair. Young Boys, their disappointment, they led in the week in Olympiacos in Greece 1-0. And they finished up drawing that game. That basically sort of sends them packing out of the Europa League. So, 2 disappointments. They're not that clever on the road. This is a good chance for Lausanne to maybe surprise them. Also 4.60 worth taking. And the other one is in Holland, the Eredivisie. And we're going to take Utrecht against Feyenoord. Now, Utrecht is a team we like against the big teams. They like to be a bit of a showboater. They like to come up against the Ajaxes and the Feyenoords and the PSVs, and that's where they do particularly well. Right? The visitors also lost 4-0 to Manchester United during the week on Thursday night, so that's one thing. And even though they're top of the league, they've only actually won 1 from the last 5 games. Right, team news is pretty good for the O's. We can't say it's really bad for Feyenoord, but we just see Utrecht as a really nice bet here. 3.50, well worth taking. It's up to you. Okay, so that's it for now. So that's the Sunday games out of the way. We'll see us again soon. We're going to be back with a couple of more tutorials during the week. Hopefully we can motivate you into becoming a serial winner and start winning money at this game if you're not winning at the moment. And yeah, hopefully we're back. Give us a thumbs up, a like, and and subscribe to the channel if you like this type of stuff. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.